We had a good chat last week, and you said something around the lines of the failure is relative to how you first defined success.
Sure.
You built 7 companies before you created one that technically worked for you.
Sure.
And I just, how did your understanding of what success is change over that time?
Well, I think that, first, thanks for having me. And, there's a lot of people that I saw in the crowd that probably deserve to be up here as well. But the one thing that I was hoping to do is kind of help some of the entrepreneurs in the audience quit and get a real job. No, what I'm thinking is when you measure success as an entrepreneur, you really start to think about things like, am I going to get an exit? Am I going to be the next Facebook? Am I going to do these exciting things and stuff like that? But for me, all I really wanted to do was prove that I could make a sustainable business, and that really was my driver. And so I, like you mentioned, I tried about 6 times, and my 7th was Blue Hornet. And essentially, I didn't want to create like John was saying, like I need an exit strat. I didn't even know what any of that crap meant. All I wanted to do was make something that had a tangible business that I could take care of my family. And there's a lot of great quotes. I'm probably going to screw up all the facts, but Wooden at UCLA, great coach at UCLA, said that failure is not giving your 100% best. And I think that a lot of people measure success as an exit or more money or whatever. But if you feel that you made your best, I think that's where the limit is. So whether you fail 6 times or 7 times or whatever, if you feel that you can keep pushing, that's going to be your motivation behind it. And so that was essentially how I was able to measure when I was going to stop, was when I was going to get a sustainable business, and that's essentially what I did.
So how do you define success before you go into something that you have yet to define?
I have no idea how to answer that, but I do have notes, and I want to talk about other stuff.
Just answer another question that you have
Okay. Okay, so let me spin that a little bit.
Please do.
Okay. Michael Dell, right? I'm going to ask a bunch of questions, and I can't see shit, so sorry. Mom, if she's watching this video, I'll be dropping 4-letter words a lot. The thing about Michael Dell, I don't know if anybody's been watching the news. He's trying to make his company private, take it private, and Carl Icahn came in and he tried to do some cool stuff and take it as well. But he went to shareholder vote, and did anybody, I'm hoping, so I'm not talking too much out of turn, but he basically failed the first time to try to get the shareholder vote, and he failed again in the second time and the third time. And he finally got it, like, in other words, his success was driven on that victory. He wanted to take his company private, he had all this stuff. He had the biggest guy against him, right? Carl Icahn is saying, look, it's my way, it's your way, go to the shareholder vote. And he kept hitting that failure milestone, and that is very inspiring when you see guys like that. They're ground up in this unbelievable perseverance and obsession, right? And so that's where I think that, like, I love this region, came from San Diego, came here, some of the, and I'll probably screw up the facts, but I always love to think about Carnegie, Rockefeller, the Wright brothers, and Edison. Let me just ask the crowd. What do these guys have in common? They're from the region. Anything else? Perseverance, failed a lot. They started with nothing, okay? I believe, and I'm reading all these books, and if you ever see the History Channel has a show called The Men Who Built America. It's a fantastic documentary. But they started from nothing. And Edison, I don't think he ever went to school. Carnegie, Rockefeller, they're all self-taught, but they were obsessed with what they were doing. And there's another book called Mastery by Robert Greene. That's like my Bible. It talks about how the Wright brothers made the best bicycle, and they made some great things, and then they saw these papers about, flying and aviation and all that stuff. And they saw all these guys with tons of money, and they had nothing, but they just made great shit, right? And so they designed the plane from the way a bicycle is designed, where the user creates, and the fascination, they needed to build an engine, but they had no money, or sorry, buy an engine, they had no money, so they had to build it to make it light enough. They went to Kitty Hawk. The fascination by how these entrepreneurs can create just from being obsessed. And I think that's part of what makes an entrepreneur great. And the success part is driven by being obsessed. So like Michael Dell, he was obsessed about getting to this point. Or you look at Fisker and Musk after the electric car. I guess he worked at Musk, stole all the ideas or whatever, but Musk prevailed as that Fisker's done. And so I'm trying to say that when you measure failure, you can measure it like Wooden measured failure by giving it your 100%, or you measure it based upon your own drive, saying, you know, there's tangible goals that I want to hit, but you have to have the perseverance to plow through those goals. So I'm not going to answer that. So what I'm thinking about is when all you entrepreneurs that are looking for investment and stuff like that, remember that the investor is not looking at your idea, like they're looking at, do you have what it takes to fail to the top? Do you have what it takes to make payroll, right? Do you have what it takes to make payroll? Do you have what it takes to the politics of your team, or can you sell your product? You know, can you sell your investors? You have 3 different audiences, your employees, your investors, and your customers. And people are looking, and sophisticated investors are asking, do you guys really, you know, as an entrepreneur, founder and co-founder, do you have what it takes to fail your way to the top, I guess? So that's probably way off your question.
That was your question.
All right, so.
I want to kind of dig into the obsession part of it and what
Sure.
that means, right? So to be obsessed, what's that? It's to be motivated by something.
No.
Like what
Obsessed is like your kids are on the top floor of your house that's burning, and you are going to get your kids. That's obsessed.
But
Teenagers, maybe not.
Yeah. They're in the back having a cigarette.
does the obsession start once you jump in, or is it?
No, I think you can tell that, and that's why I have a big thing, and you know that from my big article or whatever on MedCity News about. I don't think you can teach entrepreneurship. I think you have to have the fire in your belly. There's a big thing about Steve Jobs talks about, you know, somebody asked him at D7 or something when he was with Bill Gates, they say, what does it take? And he says, you have to be insane, because no sane person would go through this. And that's where I think there is a level of, I say it's obsession where people say insanity. But
I hope you don't mind me sharing the story, but you told me at one point your wife went to the grocery store, she loaded up her cart, she brought it to the till, and she tried to give a check, which they wouldn't accept.
Yeah, they did not accept. Okay, so that's where you know you've hit rock bottom. So the bottom line was, my wife, I was working, 24-hour days. We had one car. She went to the grocery store. She had her however old they are when they're in the bouncer, and the other one in the cart or whatever. And so she goes to this is good. We were living with my parents for 6 months in their bedroom because I had to hire an employee and we had to take a pay cut. It was worth it, I think. But so she went to the grocery store. I remember that day. She's watching and she's probably making sure I get the facts right. And it was, just a shit little car. And she drives there and she calls me and says, guess what? Blank, blank. They are not taking my check. And so I remember, and then she left, but the groceries were there. And I remember, ready for it, borrowing money from my interns that I wasn't paying to go get the grocery cart, and they had to drive the groceries home. Booyah. Bottom.
Okay.
That's the bottom.
I bring that up because we talk about an entrepreneur going through hell.
Isn't that hell?
And to have the right stuff.
Sorry, baby. I mean,
but
she probably hates me.
does an entrepreneur have to expect hell? That sounds like hell to me.
Yes.
Do they have to expect hell? Will it happen every time?
Well, I mean, there are two types, like I always say, there are two types of people in this world, right? And most of these folks will agree. People that haven't made payroll and people that have made payroll. Once you make payroll, it's like having a baby. It changes your life. I remember feeling physical pain when I had to make payroll because it's such a big deal. And there's so many moving parts, and you're watching your account just kabunk, and that's a hell part. You always look at like TechCrunch. Us entrepreneurs go to TechCrunch, and there's this story like cat shit in a can raises $10 million, and you're like, right? And your idea is so much better than that one. And the guy's a punk, you know, and he's sitting there, I got 10 large, you know, and then you're like, anyways, so that's, and then you see that and you get demoralized and all this other stuff.
Okay, you talked about obsession and we talked about going through the hell of failure, but I don't know if there's...
Oh, no sleep, right?
All right, go ahead.
There's, hell is, I mean, how many entrepreneurs really get a good 9 hours of sleep? You wake up and you're not instantly thinking of your company, right? And then your wife's like, seriously, are you even here, right? And you're just, oh, I have this new feature and shiny, you know, object kind of thinking. And that's hell. I mean, that, and then I put some more crap. Sales cycles, oh my goodness. I mean, how many people think, you know, like we're waiting by the fax machine or we're waiting for the signatures and it just goes for months and months and months. So you're lucky if you find a sophisticated investor that takes that away. And but at the same time, when you don't have other people's money at certain parts of, it makes you tougher and you start to make good decisions and stuff like that, and you start to get more conservative. And I'm just, you know, thrilled to have worked with a lot of great folks at Blue Hornet and the other ventures that I've been in. But it's you know, traditionally hell. So, for example, I know you're probably dying to get to your next question. So I just got a few hours ago or whatever. I came back from Oracle Open World in San Francisco. It's like this huge tech dude. So I'm all really excited, because Larry Ellison, like the third richest man in the world or whatever, he's the keynote, so we're all rushing in there, and I got my pad and pen, and I'm all excited about, you know, Larry. And he comes on stage, and, you know, he's so like, you know, whatever, however you think of Larry Ellison, but he comes on stage, and I'm just waiting for these pearls of wisdom, like, how is this richest man, what is the secret sauce, right? And then he starts just sounding like a used car salesman, right? And you're listening to this, and he's like, what is it going to take for you to, you know, bring this car home today? If you're at a scale at 1 to 10 and you're a 7, how can I make that a 10? You know, it's almost getting this, and I'm waiting for this wisdom. And it ends up that was the genius behind this guy. And that's the stuff that I should have learned a long time ago, and that I encourage entrepreneurs is, he's always closing. He's always selling. And he was selling his product in a simple message, and it keeps his sales cycles low. There's not too many moving parts. He's like, get my hardware. It's better. It's faster. And they're outside taking orders. And I'm thinking, shit, they would rather you know, show them how you're going to make them money. Somebody once told me 3 things people care about: more money, more time, and more fun. If you can solve one of those, you're doing great. But if you're coming in with a complex sale and trying to make everything better for you or whatever, that's where you just lose people in the weeds. But as far as the hell part, yes, it's you fail your way to the top. I even have a quote. I lost it. Oh yeah, Lincoln said, "Most men can handle adversity, but to test his character, give him power." And I think that's a very powerful quote, is when you're, you know, running a team and running, you start to, you know, try to encourage your team, and then there's politics, and then they're surfing Facebook, and you're like, oh, I thought you were obsessed about my idea the way I'm obsessed. And that's part of hell.
is your lesson that it's a natural thing that you need to have to tackle these things? Like the guy you were talking about who is a natural salesman, you might be a natural developer or,
sure.
or whatever it is. Are you saying you can only really excel in those things, or can you change yourself?
No, I think that if you're obsessed about something, like I think Caldwell or whoever says like it's 10,000 hours to become a master or whatever, but if you're able to communicate your passion into obsession, whatever it's music or whatever, you got to be able to go through the hard times, the boring times. A startup is a marathon. You're running, you see a mile marker, sweet, ooh, there's a downhill, and then the next mile's an uphill. And if you understand it's a marathon, you start to get to mile 7, mile 8, and you're like, when the hell is this over? But if you're mentally prepared to know that your goals are, that 26.2, you just have what it takes to get there. Obsessed is a, if somebody was about to invest in, or a sophisticated investor invest in your company, one of the questions, if I was an investor, is like, are you obsessed about this? And how do you define obsessed? But at the same time, you don't want them to throw away their balance. And you don't want to throw away, what makes them stable, because then they do go insane, and they're like John Paul, right?
You spoke before about framing success relative to what you want, and there's a question from the audience that says, with several failures under your belt, what helped you to pick up and try one more each time? How did you do that, and was that about framing success differently for yourself each time?
Yeah, it almost was, you kind of know you can do it. It's, I don't know, learning to play the guitar, right? 3 hours, it sucks, and then you all of a sudden are able to do like a different chord or whatever. And then you start to think, I know I can do this. And I think you go to sleep, you wake up, I know I can do this. And instead of saying like, I know I want to make the next Facebook, it's such an abstract goal. And I think if you can, you're not going to go play, with Metallica, but if you know you can get to a certain point, the 7 failures could have been 77, because it's innate. And I don't know if you have to be a great developer or a great salesperson, because you can surround yourself with people, and you should be able to sell your vision, quite, a simple vision. But yeah, it could have been 17 failures. If you know you have something, that's that makes you driven. Okay, cool.
You have obviously you have some heroes. One person asked, what's your 3 favorite books?
Oh, anything by Robert Greene, so that's, I think, 3 or 4. So he's got, anybody help me, 48 Laws of Power, 33 Strategies War, I think it is, and then Mastery. Watch that. I'm reading Titan right now, 96 book about Rockefeller. Fascinating. And the cool thing is, like, you guys got to think about, like, from California, like, we're kind of new to the whole States. And I'm Canadian, so there's no Irish-Canadian things. We're kind of close, I guess. Closer, right? But my thought is that, if you were to look at the roots of what this region has, it's just motivating in itself, right? Like, Edison was around here, right? And then the Wright brothers were in Dayton, and then Rockefeller. And then Rockefeller. I mean, Rockefeller, people hated him and all this other stuff. Rush? I don't know who that is. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'm like from Canada. Yeah, there you go. But toilets, no toilets, nothing. We love our bankers, though, apparently. That's.
Hey, does anybody have a question who's non-Twittery? Just want to put up your hand and ask a question? Yeah, over there.
You talked about hitting at rock bottom and having to borrow money from your interns.
Yeah.
How do you get dedication from them?
That's a great question. I really think that if you're able to create an environment that people are attracted to, it's very easy to get depressed. It's very easy to be the lowest shoulders in the room, as you're worried about money, and what John does really good at Hawk Cards is he always shows that encouragement, and a lot of people want to be around people that are positive, and even though you don't feel it, you have to show that, and you create energy. You try to get people involved, but not too crazy. But if you create a passionate environment, and you make the journey fun, but yet it might be challenging, right? But yeah, I think part of the issue of a lot of startups is you don't really understand, like we were talking about the talent that you hire, is the way an investor would look at you, kind of when you're interviewing, think, does this person have what it takes? Because I'm going to have, in 6 months a shit show or whatever. And but there might be some, people out there that, I want to run the marathon with you. If somebody's there, I never liked marathons, and you're like, well, this guy went to Harvard, right? But you're like, I need people that are willing to run marathons with the ups and downs. So.
Any more questions?